guys. Okay, so I lied to you just a little bit in the last video. I said I was going to work on the stairs yet, and I decided that that's not what I'm going to do. What I'm actually going to do is start finishing off the outside walls here. Go ahead and get the plastering done, and I'm also going to wash the wood. And the reason I'm going to do that is because it's going to be much easier to do the stairs if I go ahead and glue these two walls together. But I don't want to glue them together until I get the outside done, because doing the plastering on the outside is going to be easier if I don't have the walls glued together. So I'm going to go ahead and get the outsides done, and then we'll get the walls glued together, and then we'll work on the stairs. So let me get set up and we'll be right back. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a sepia wash on all the woodwork. And that's just to brown up the wood a little bit, because this burnt sienna color I've been using to stain the wood with is very red, and I wanted a reddish tint, but I'm going to put a sepia wash on to kind of, it'll give it a little more brown. You can see here, I've done a little bit here, so you can see right here where the difference is. It's a little more brown, and it's also going to kind of tie things in and age stuff a little bit. So I'm just going to get some sepia wash and slop it on all of the woodwork on the outside. Okay, so I got the sepia wash on here and let it dry real good, and you can see it's just kind of toned down the red a bit, made it a little more brown. It's kind of tied things in, and it's kind of just like on a mini, it's highlighted the grains and the divots and everything else. So now I've just got some, we're going to do the plastering, so I've just got some regular tap water here, and I'm going to just dump, this is just plaster of Paris, so I'm just going to dump a bunch of plaster of Paris in here and mix it up, and I'm going to mix it about to the consistency of toothpaste, and I'm not going to be terribly careful because I'm not casting with this, so I don't care about lumps or air bubbles or anything like that. Alright, so I've got it mixed here about like toothpaste, give or take, whatever you're comfortable with. And what I'm going to do is just use the popsicle stick. Now I'm going to start here with the area that's going to be covered up on the back. This is where the shed's going, so I know this is not going to be seen, so I'm going to practice here to make sure I'm doing this right. But basically I'm just going to kind of spread it on here like this and work it around. And I'm not trying to get real smooth. And I just need a fairly thin layer on here, and I'll let it, you know, kind of go up against the wood and just push it up against there. Now I've also got something thinner to work in the corners. In my case, I've got a wooden coffee stir that I use for the floor plankings a lot, and that works well for getting it up in the corners. The other thing you're going to want is a wet paper towel, because when you slop this stuff over on the wood, you're going to want to get it off while it's still wet. So just use a wet paper towel and kind of wipe the edges off. It can get a little smeary and messy, so this part is going to be a little tedious. There's probably easier ways to do this, like slapping this stuff on first and then putting the wood on, but I've done that before and I just didn't like the result as much. I like this better. So it's more work, but I like it better. So that's where we're at. I'm just going to be working on the walls and doing this, and then we'll come back and do some coloring for the plaster. Okay, so here's a little test section with the plaster of Paris. Who can tell me what the problem is with the plaster of Paris? Nope, don't raise your hand. Just call it out if you know it. Call it right on out. That's right. There is absolutely zero working time when you mix plaster of Paris that thick. That's a major problem. What ended up happening is I either had to mix it so thin that it wasn't workable here. It was like soup. Or if I mixed it this thick, by the time I got done mixing it and put a little bit on here, it was already hardening and I couldn't spread it out very well. It was a complete mess. So plaster of Paris is right out for this, which is a shame because I really like the texture that plaster of Paris gives you. It's got kind of a grainy texture to it, but I just can't make that work. So the way we're going to go is we're just going to use spackling, drywall compound. So it's basically the same thing. I like these squeeze bottles because when you're working in areas this small, you can just squeeze a blob on there, like comes out like toothpaste, and use a stick just to kind of push it in the corners, around the corners there, and then I just use my finger and kind of smooth it around as much as I can in the middle, and have a damp paper towel and just wipe the edges around, and that'll be okay. It's not as good as I really wanted with the plaster, because when I did this test, I really liked the texture of this plaster, but it's just impractical to work with. So I'm just going to go with the spackling. I'm going to start putting these together, and then we'll come back and paint them up, and I'll show you what I'm doing for the painting. Alright, so after the change of plans of the spackling, I've gotten most of the walls done, and we'll kind of go through them, and I'll show you some things. So this is the natural spackling. I haven't colored it at all, and it actually dries, at least the brand I was using, which was Dax, actually dries kind of off-white. It's not blinding white, so that's better. However, I still didn't like this because when I had to wipe it off of the wood, it's still kind of obscuring the wood, and it looks a little washed out, and it's still too big a contrast. I didn't like it. So I knew I didn't want to just do a sepia wash on it, because from my experiments before, that was way too dark. But this cream color that I had started to do, I didn't like that either. So and the other thing was, I needed something that I could fix up the wood with and kind of blend the wood back into the spackle. So what I did is I took some sepia wash and watered it down about halfway again, and actually came out with this, and I ended up, it scared me to death to do it, but I ended up actually liking it this way. So this is what I'm going to do. And so I just washed back over the wood and everything all at once, and it kind of ties everything back together. It cleans up the wood a bit. You can see there's some stuff still in the wood, but that's okay, because that actually makes it look more realistic. And when I was doing the spackling, I just kind of, once I got it in there and spread around, I just kind of took my finger and went in kind of a circular pattern around it, just to give it a little bit of texture, because otherwise it was just too smooth. Now, so this is the back wall, so it's pretty much done on the outside. This is the front wall. I just got to wash it, and then it'll be done. This is one of the side walls. Now, this side I don't have to worry about, because this is the chimney's going to be here, and then the side of that shack is going to be here, so you won't see any of that. So I did this part, but I haven't done this over here yet, because I actually need to attach the walls before I do that, so that I don't have spackle sticking out. It's got to go in between here. So I'll wait to finish up the side walls. I just went ahead and did the interior parts so I could have them done. So anyway, I'm just going to wash the outsides, and then I actually am going to put together the back wall and the left wall, where the corner where the stairs are going to go, because I've realized that once I get those together, it'll actually be easier to build the stairs in that corner with those two walls put together. So next time we'll put the walls together, and we may get onto some stairs then. Till then, you guys have a good one. Bye!